Do you ever feel like you have a roommate in your head who never stops talking? I mean, seriously, imagine a real person following you around your apartment, constantly narrating your life, criticizing your outfit, replaying an awkward conversation from 2012, or keeping you awake at 3 a.m. with worries about bills you've already paid. If you had a roommate like that in real life, you'd kick them out in a heartbeat. You'd change the locks. But because this voice is inside your head, you listen to it, you engage with it, you let it ruin your morning coffee because it decided to remind you of a mistake you made 5 years ago.
It is exhausting, and I think that's why so many of us feel this deep, heavy fatigue that a double espresso just can't touch. We blame it on the grind. We think we're tired because of the traffic on the I-95, or the endless ping of Slack notifications, or just the sheer weight of modern life, inflation, politics, the news cycle. And sure, those things are real stressors. But have you ever noticed that you can be sitting on a comfortable couch, completely safe, with nothing immediate to do, and yet you're still stressed? You're still fighting a battle?
That is because the exhaustion isn't coming from your job or your commute. It's coming from the noise inside. It's the constant energy expenditure of managing that inner roommate, arguing with it, or trying to ignore it. Michael Singer, in The Untethered Soul, calls this the root of our suffering. He points out that the real cause of problems isn't life itself, it's the commotion the mind makes about life. But what if you didn't have to engage? What if you could just hit a mute button?
That mute button, it sounds like a fantasy, but it is the only way to truly wake up. Welcome to The Last Read, books for your ears, wisdom for your life. Today, we aren't just reading a book, we are performing an exorcism on your inner critic. We are exploring The Untethered Soul by Michael A. Singer. Here is where we are going. We will uncover why you are fundamentally not your thoughts. We will identify the secret, infinite energy source, your inner chi, that you are unknowingly blocking. And we will learn the ultimate technique to let go of pain instantly. But first, you have to realize that you are trapped. You have to see the walls of the mental cage you've built. If you want to own this manual for your mind, the link to the hard book is in the description. And if you are ready to reclaim your peace, go ahead and hit that subscribe button now. Now, to understand this method, you have to understand the man who wrote it. You might expect this level of spiritual insight to come from someone who has completely renounced the world, a recluse living in a cave, far removed from mortgage rates and lawsuits. But the author of this book is a contradiction. He is a man who bridges two very different worlds. Michael A. Singer isn't your typical guru sitting on a mountain, dispensing wisdom from a place of untouched serenity. Quite the opposite. He is a hybrid, a living paradox. On one hand, you have the spiritual yogi, a man who, back in the 70s, retreated into the deep woods of Alachua, Florida, to meditate in solitude. He built his own sanctuary, the Temple of the Universe, specifically to escape the noise of society and find inner silence. He was living the life of a recluse, focused entirely on the spirit. But on the other hand, while living in those woods, he taught himself to code. That hobby turned into a piece of software called the Medical Manager, which grew into a massive corporation. This company didn't just do well, it went public and was eventually involved in a merger with WebMD, valued at roughly $5 billion. So we aren't talking about a small side hustle. We are talking about high-stakes corporate mergers, complex IPOs, and eventually a massive federal investigation. That is the part that makes this book so different. Singer didn't write The Untethered Soul while staring at a peaceful sunset. He lived these principles while the FBI was raiding his offices. He faced a securities fraud scandal that dragged on for years, threatening him with potential prison time and the loss of everything he had built.
Most people would crumble under that pressure. They would be consumed by anxiety and fear.
But Singer used the exact techniques in this book to navigate that storm. He managed a billion-dollar public company and a federal legal battle while maintaining a state of deep, absolute surrender. He proved that spiritual freedom isn't about changing your external circumstances. It's about changing how you relate to the internal commentary about those circumstances. And that brings us to the core problem, the very first thing Singer asks us to examine. It's about that narrator living in your mind, the one that never stops talking. So, let's talk about that voice. You know the one. It's that narrator living in your mind that we mentioned a moment ago. The one that Singer says is the root of pretty much all your anxiety. To really get how absurd this situation is, Singer asks us to try a thought experiment. It's one of the most famous analogies in the entire book. He says, imagine if that voice in your head was an actual physical person sitting on the couch next to you, a roommate. Just picture it. You're trying to relax, maybe watch a movie, and this person is sitting right there narrating everything. And I mean everything. They're saying things like, "Why are you eating that? You know you shouldn't eat that. Remember when you ate that last week and felt sick? Oh, look, a car just went by. That's a red car. I wonder where they're going. Hey, did you turn off the stove? You probably left it on. You're going to burn the house down." It just never stops.
If this were a real person, a roommate who followed you from room to room, critiquing your outfit, bringing up embarrassing things you did in high school, and pointing out objects you can clearly see with your own eyes, how long would you last? You would kick them out in 5 minutes. You'd change the locks. You'd probably get a restraining order, a conversation with this maniac, getting into arguments with it, trying to appease it. But here is the game-changing realization, and this is the first real step toward the untethered life Singer is talking about. You are not the voice. Think about the logic for a second. If you can hear the voice talking, then you cannot be the voice. You are the one hearing it.
It's a subject-object relationship. You are the subject, the consciousness, the witness. The voice is just an object, a mechanism that is making noise. Singer says, there is nothing more important to true growth than realizing that you are not the voice of the mind. You are the one who hears it. Once you settle into that seat of the witness, you stop trying to fix the voice. You stop arguing with it. You just watch it. You realize it's just a mechanism, often a scared one. But that leads to an even deeper question. If this voice is so annoying and so repetitive, why is it there? Why does it get so loud specifically when we feel rejected or scared or uncomfortable? It turns out, this roommate isn't just rambling for no reason. It's trying to distract you. It's trying to protect you from feeling something sharp deep inside your heart, something Singer calls the inner thorn. So, if the voice in your head is just a mechanism, and you are the one hearing it, why is it so loud? Why does it never seem to take a break? It turns out, the voice isn't just rambling for the sake of it. It has a job. It's trying to distract you. It's trying to protect you from feeling something sharp deep inside your heart, something Michael Singer calls the inner thorn. Let's sit with that image for a moment. Singer asks us to imagine you have a literal thorn embedded in your arm. It hits a nerve. If anything touches it, even a gentle breeze, you feel shooting pain. Now you have a choice. Option 1 is to make sure nothing ever touches it again. You stop shaking hands. You install bumpers on your door frames so you don't bump your arm. You might even build a special protective cage to wear over it. You change how you sleep. You adjust how you walk through crowds. You design your entire life around not disturbing that thorn. It sounds exhausting, doesn't it? But Singer argues that this is exactly what we do with our emotional pain. In the yogic tradition, this stored pain has a name. It's called a samskara. A samskara is a mental impression, or more specifically, an unfinished energy pattern. It's an event from your past, maybe 5 years ago, maybe from childhood, that you couldn't fully process at the time. You resisted it. You pushed it down. So instead of passing through you, that energy got stuck. It cycled back on itself and lodged in your heart like a thorn. We all have these. Think about a time you heard a specific song on the radio and suddenly your stomach dropped because it reminded you of an ex-partner. That isn't the song hurting you. That is a samskara being touched. Or maybe you froze during a speech in high school and everyone laughed. Now, 20 years later, your boss asks for a quick update in a meeting and your throat closes up. You feel like you can't breathe. That is the thorn. And just like the person with the thorn in their arm, we build our lives around protecting these weak spots. We close our hearts. We say things like, "I don't date people like that," or "I'm just not a public speaker." We restrict our world to keep the thorn safe. Singer gives us a powerful warning about this. He says, if you protect yourself perfectly, you will never grow. Every time you avoid a situation to save yourself from that pinch of pain, you are actually trapping the pain inside you. You are building the cage thicker and thicker. You are spending your finite energy protecting something that is hurting you.
So, what is the alternative? It's the second option. You pull the thorn out. But here is the catch. To pull it out, you have to be willing to feel it leaving. You have to be willing to feel the disturbance without protecting yourself from it. Singer says, "Do not let anything that happens in life be important enough that you're willing to close your heart over it." When that song plays, or when that fear of speaking rises up, instead of grabbing your phone to distract yourself or snapping at someone to defend yourself, you do something radical. You permit the pain to be there. You realize that this burning feeling isn't new. It's simply the old energy trying to leave. This brings us to the very edge of our next topic, because simply knowing the thorn is there isn't enough to remove it. You need a technique. You need a way to physically and mentally step back when the heat rises. You need to learn the art of falling behind the energy, simply watching it like a storm cloud passing through a clear sky. This process, this act of leaning back instead of closing down, is what Singer defines as true letting go, and it is the only path to keeping your heart open.
Simply watching it like a storm cloud passing through a clear sky. To put this into practice, let's move from the abstract to something concrete, something we have all experienced, the dreaded red light. Imagine you are driving. You are already 10 minutes late for a crucial meeting. You hit an intersection, and the light turns yellow, then red. Immediately, you feel it, that tightness in your chest, the heat rising up the back of your neck. Your hands grip the steering wheel until your knuckles turn white. You might even shout at the windshield. Michael Singer points out that the red light is just a light. It is a neutral event in the universe. It has no agenda against you. The heat you feel, that is simply energy, raw emotional energy, hitting a blockage inside you.
Most of us engage with that energy. We wrestle with it. We start a mental dialogue. I can't believe this. Why does this always happen to me? That light is rigged. By doing this, you are pushing the energy back down, storing it away to bother you again later. Singer offers a radical alternative. He says when you feel that heat rise, you do the opposite of what your instincts scream at you to do. You physically relax. He is very specific about this. He says, relax your shoulders, relax your stomach, and most importantly, relax your heart. You literally lean back away from the steering wheel. You don't try to stop the anger from existing. Remember, the thorn is there, but you refuse to get involved with it. You look at the anger and say, hello, I see you there, but you stay seated in the center of your consciousness, falling behind the noise. If you do this, if you relax instead of tighten, a miracle happens. The energy has nowhere to stick. It rushes up, it burns for a moment, and then it passes through you and leaves.
This is the practice of surrender. Not surrender as in giving up or being weak, but surrender as in non-resistance. It is the habit of constantly letting go of the tension so that the river of life can flow through you without getting snagged on your rocks. If you can do this with traffic, you can do it with a rude email. You can do it with a breakup. You can do it with anything. But let's be honest, this is incredibly hard to remember in the heat of the moment. When life gets loud, we forget to lean back. We forget that we are just visitors here. So, how do we find the perspective to let go of these petty annoyances? How do we stop sweating the small stuff? Singer suggests we need a very powerful advisor, a teacher that is with us every single second, waiting to remind us of what is truly important.
Death. I know, it sounds morbid. We spend most of our lives trying not to think about it. We hide it in hospitals, we whisper about it at funerals. We pretend it's some distant event that happens to other people, not us. But Michael Singer argues that death is actually the greatest teacher you will ever have if you're brave enough to listen. Think about it this way. Imagine the angel of death comes to visit you tonight. He sits on the edge of your bed and says, "It's time. You have exactly 1 week left." What is your immediate reaction? You'd probably beg, "Please, just give me 1 more week. I need more time." And Singer says, imagine if death looked at you and replied, "My God, I just gave you 52 weeks this past year alone, and look at all the weeks before that. What did you do with them?" It's a chilling thought, but it cuts right through the noise, doesn't it?
If you truly knew with absolute certainty that you had 7 days left on this planet, would you really spend your precious energy worrying about that rude comment your coworker made in the meeting? Would you lie awake at night stressing about a little dent in your car bumper? Of course not. Those things would instantly vanish. They would be revealed for exactly what they are. Nonsense. Total nonsense that we allow to clutter our minds because we live under the illusion that we have infinite time. See, death strips away the facade. It changes everything. But ironically, it doesn't change life itself. The rain is still falling, the traffic is still moving, the coffee still tastes the same. What changes is you. Suddenly, the fact that you get to take a breath becomes a miracle. The fact that you can feel the wind on your face becomes a gift. You stop sweating the small stuff because you realize it's all small stuff.
Singer isn't trying to scare us here. He's trying to wake us up. He wants us to keep death on our shoulder as a wise advisor. When you start getting worked up because the line of the grocery store is too long, you just glance over at your advisor, and in a split second, you realize this doesn't matter. I am alive. I am here. And that realization, that is the gateway to a completely different way of living. Once you stop fighting with reality, once you stop clinging to how you think things should be and start accepting them as they are, you enter a state of flow. You become the observer we talked about earlier, watching the movie of life instead of getting lost in the drama. But what does that actually look like in practice? What does it mean to live a life where you are totally free, totally untethered from the fear and the noise? Well, it looks a lot like freedom, and it's the final piece of the puzzle.
It's the final piece of the puzzle. Michael Singer calls this state unconditional happiness. And honestly, it's the ultimate act of rebellion. It's deciding that you are going to be happy, not because everything is going your way, but because you are here to experience it. You see, throughout this book, we've been walking a very specific path. First, we realized we aren't the voice in our head, we're the one hearing it. We stepped back and became the observer. Then we learned about the thorns, those old energies and samskara stuck in our hearts. We learned that the only way to be free is to stop building a life around protecting those thorns and instead just let them go.
Let the pain pass through you like wind through a screen. And finally, we invited death to the table, not as a monster, but as a friend who reminds us that our time here is a gift and it is taking away.
When you put all of that together, you find yourself in what the ancient sages called the Tao, or the middle way. Singer describes it beautifully. He talks about a pendulum. Most of us are exhausting ourselves, pushing the pendulum of life to one extreme or the other, chasing extreme pleasure or running from extreme pain. But the Tao, the flow, is in the center. It's the place where you aren't pushing or pulling. You're just sailing. And that is where the magic happens. When you stop wasting your energy fighting the moment, you have all this energy left over to actually love the moment. You start seeing the world through what Singer calls the eyes of God. You see beauty in things that used to annoy you. You feel a sense of peace that doesn't go away just because it rains or someone cuts you off in traffic.
You realize, I am sitting on a planet spinning around in the middle of absolutely nowhere. I'm floating in empty space in a universe that goes on forever. If you have to be here, you might as well enjoy the ride. It has been an incredible journey walking through the Untethered Soul with you. If you want to master these techniques, and trust me, it is a practice, not a one-time fix, you really need to sit with the full text. We've put a link to the hard copy in the description below. And if you want to keep exploring the wisdom hidden in the world's best books, make sure you're subscribed to The Last Read. We have plenty more journeys to take together. Until then, keep your heart open. Don't close. Just breathe, relax, and let life move through you. You are the sky. Everything else is just the weather.